Evening all. How is everybody doing? That is the question for tonight. How is everybody doing? How are you doing? The reason I ask is because of just chats and messages I've had the past few days in regards to the narrative. The UK narrative is one of complete and utter doom and gloom every single day. Would you agree? So I believe that the narrative is doom and gloom constantly in the UK, and to me it says a lot about the strategy used by the government and the media to create division, perhaps enforce a momentum or an agenda, and maybe instill a bit of fear in the population, because fear is a control measure, as we know. And I talk about fear a lot because it's one of those things you have to shed in order to progress. So we all have to lose the fear. Everybody's got to lose that emotion, especially when it's instilled by an oppressor for the wrong reasons. Fear's useful at times if it's in the correct environment. You know, if it could be a lifesaver. If you're in a position where it generates a response from you, then it becomes a lifesaver. But the type of fear I'm talking about is the useless one, the one that's fake, the one that's false, the false narrative. I talk about it a lot in many guises, and I despise it. I despise anybody that wants to suppress someone. So again, it's all part of the same machine, because they're all little cogs, millions of cogs working together in order to create a collective and get everyone singing off the same song sheet. So I've been talking to somebody recently about this, and their opinions clash a lot, which is good. It's fine, it's good for debate. But basically I'm interested in the general consensus. If people feel that the media narrative, the news, the mainstream, everything that we get to access as Joe Blogs, as members of the public, if everything we get to access is doom and gloom, then let's have a debate about it. Or let's not debate it. Why aren't you doing it as individuals? Why as individuals are you not speaking up for yourselves? Instead of just liking posts and not commenting, why aren't people taking it upon themselves to address the fact that 7 days a week in the UK, everything is doom and gloom? Tell me the last time you read good news posted on a social media platform, and I don't mean some bullshit video, I mean actual proper good news. So I don't generally read a lot of good news anywhere. I don't see it. It doesn't seem to exist these days. And yet 15, 20 years ago, most people were quite carefree. I know 20 years ago, you know, I was quite carefree at a time in my life, and most people that I surrounded myself were also the same. So these days everything's just such an effort. Everything is an absolute effort. It is a mission just to get a week in without a problem or a scenario or something that damages you or damages your mindset. This is everywhere. It's every single person that I speak to in all walks of life. Everybody is absolutely battling. We all know what's going on. You know, everybody knows what's the topic of conversation just now. When are the authorities and the government going to help people? They don't help anybody. They're in power to serve the people, apparently. But they've turned this into a business. They've turned everything into a business. A massive multi-billion pound business. Through fear, through control, through suppressing, you know, people, and suppressing truths, and suppressing all sorts of anything that's good nowadays seems to be on the back burner. It doesn't seem to get anywhere near the front pages. It doesn't even make the middle pages. And I just find that crazy. I don't know why people tolerate it. I don't go in for it at all. The government don't represent me. They don't speak for me. Anybody that is not helping the people in a position of power don't speak for me. I don't really think they speak for the population these days either. I'm not speaking for the population, I'm speaking as an individual, but my opinion is that they don't speak for the population. They can't, because all they chat is bullshit and they just spout constant rubbish. You know, we've been governed by decades by successive governments and authorities in one form or another, and everything's getting worse. Just worse every year. Deeper into the mire. We're all up to our necks in it. Debt everywhere. Collapsing infrastructures everywhere. Poor health everywhere. Enormous rates of depression and suicide and self-harming, and people with low self-esteem. No one's got their head up anymore. Now, this video might even make you feel a bit down, but that is not the intention. Talk about it, speak about it, and shout about it if you want. Stamp your feet, shout, be heard, don't be scared, don't care what anybody says. Stop caring what your mates might think of you and start voicing it. There's not enough people talking about this. There's not enough people talking about it, which is scandalous in itself, because that's us doing what the powers that be want us to, which is to just go with the flow. If you don't like something in your own life, you usually try and move away from it. So why would you go with the flow with this when it's someone else working the strings? Makes no sense. So how is everybody feeling? That was the question. I know how I feel about it. It drives me crazy. I don't like it. And anyone I speak to lately, without really even going into it, you can kind of gauge people just as you meet them. I speak to a lot of strangers, my travels, and they're all kind of doom and gloom. Everyone's quite suppressed, quite down, quite uptight, and, you know, sitting on the edge and just not feeling great. People just don't look well and they don't feel great, and there's not a lot of laughter anymore, is there? And that's across the board. You know, that's no. I don't keep the same circle. It's different every day. There's a huge amount of people I speak to, and they're all kind of saying the same thing, just that they've had enough. They've had enough of everything. I wonder what it would be like if we could turn off the news, turn off the mainstream media, bin the newspapers, bin all the social platforms. Would we feel great quite quickly? What do you reckon? What do you reckon? So there's one to think about. So that's the question. Anybody sticks something in the comments, I'll give it an answer. How are we feeling? We're into the middle of January. How's everybody feeling? What do you feel about the narrative in the UK? Let me know. Cheers.